The Dollhouse Family, issue 4, Mike Carey writing with Peter Gross on the art. And we get the next chapter in the story here, where after the bombing, which was the end of the last issue, we have her waking up in hospital and she's lost her leg. She tries to get out of bed and she just falls to the floor.
That was shocking. Like, when I saw her kind of okay, and you find out she's been in a coma for 5 weeks because of all of her injuries, you're like, okay, well, she's done some healing. And then she falls and she's missing her leg. I'm like, oh man, this is playing for keeps, right? Like,
yeah. And then the kid runs in, and had lost like half her arm.
Right, and she runs in with her dad, who they had to make aware and he's like, 5 weeks ago I found out I had a daughter.
Yeah, because she's been in a coma for 5 weeks. It's worth mentioning that.
Yeah,
so
I did mention that already.
Because so it's one of these things where throughout the issue, like, it's kind of this awkward family kind of building, and he's kind of there because he knows now, and she's kind of being grumpy, but he ultimately, like, she says, oh, you can just spend the night, and he's like, oh, okay, and he starts making the couch, and she's like, nah, you can come up the bedroom now, I've got needs. And he's like, oh, okay. And they kind of joke about, like, oh, I hope you're using a different brand of condom now, and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
But it leads to this big dark kind of ending, because one of the big things in the middle of the book is that because the dollhouse is back, she, like, she's like, hey, take the kid to, like, get ice cream or something. I'm going, and she's like, talks to the, and she's like, no, you're not having my daughter. I am not making this choice. You're never getting me. It's done.
And the deal that they offer is they'll give her her arm back.
Yeah.
Right.
But basically, what happens is at the end of the issue, when they're going to have sex, is they pull the cover over and her leg is back, and she's like,
she says her leg is starting to real itch, and she doesn't know why, and she throws the cover off, and her leg's back. And she goes, oh no.
And she knows what this means, because it means the daughter's been given a similar offer. And she runs into the dollhouse, and the dollhouse is gone. And well, not just that, it disappears, but she sees her daughter as a doll in in the house.
Yeah.
And it disappears.
And
she sees the person from the orphanage takes her and
goes, no,
miniaturizes a daughter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you, no matter what. We're gonna do this the hard way then. And I'm like, oh man. So I've been on record how much I love Basket Full of Heads. It's a real fun. This might be my favorite Dollhouse book, just with what it's doing with the story. Because here it jumped from it. This is my kind of horror, where it's not like yeah, there's ghastly things, but it's not like scary, right? Like,
it's not trying to do any like jump scares or creepy things like that. It's just
it's a gothic horror kind of story, right? Where it's the setting, and because we also get a flashback to the original guy that he goes into the cave to go kill the demon. She ain't exactly a demon. She's definitely an alien.
Yeah, and she refers to the thing as an angel.
Right, the angel.
Which I thought was interesting.
Right, you got to be quiet. You'll wake the angel. Right, and then she takes his arm off, and then says, "Oh, you think this is just my form? No. My form's limitless, and I'm kind of." Shall we say she's grown fond of mouths, and becomes this horrific blob mouth creature.
It's just mouths and eyes, and it's kind of terrifying. I love it.
It's not bad. This is the kind of thing that, like, I'm really conflicted on, because, and this shouldn't affect the comic book because it's a comic book, but I can see, like, how they would try and do this in a movie, and how much it would, like, just ruin it for me, because it would just be this big CG thing that wouldn't work for me. Like,
well, you say that, but also, let's say this is a thing, and they do the Carpenter method of low budget, and that's like it's like the thing where it's all practical. And it's what you don't see. I can see, the body kind of contorting, and a little bit of body horror on that stuff, and it kind of stretches out, and then you see this as a big practical thing. Yeah. Ideally.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it needs to be darker. I think the lighting's is too light. Like, I feel like
if this was a movie, you'd let it lighted darker just so you could hide.
No, the torch would go out.
I mean, even in the comic, I feel like the coloring should have a darker tone to it.
I like, though, because this is revealing what this is now. Like, everything's in the light at this point.
That's my problem, though, is I just don't like how much I see of it. I think it's too, like, that's just what it is now.
Yeah,
but
I also
it's
mean that
not what it is now, because
no,
as it says, it doesn't have a form. These are just things it uses from time to time, and
right.
this one's
Oh
kind
no,
of fun.
I get that, but what I mean is that when you just show me something this monstrosity and just full plain view and light, it kind of like takes all of the not mystery out of it for me. Like I just see a big goofy wacky idea now as opposed to actually something that's actually scary
Oh.
or terrifying.
Well, see, I like this because this is the Phantoms, which that movie's not good, but the concept of Phantoms, right? Is you have this creature that has lived underground for centuries that is now believes it's actually Satan, right? Because of the beliefs of the people and whatnot. And that's here where you feel like now this creature's lived there for so long that it's started to drink its own Kool-Aid. By the time it becomes the Dollhouse, because we also see what happens to his son after the dad never comes back. They basically think that he might have committed suicide, but they're not sure. He just never came out.
Mm-hmm.
But they leave his journal.
Right, and so the son ends up becoming more and more distant. Like, yeah, he gets married and goes to church and has a family, but he's always tinkering, and he never feels like there's always this sense of emptiness, and you can tell that through the time. This is what this creature has preyed on with this family, was this sense of emptiness and creating a family that's not really there, right? And that now it's upset that Alice, who has had everything thrown against her, has created her family without any of this, right? Like every time they try to throw a curve, she just hits it out of the park. And now I'm going to throw you the ultimate curve by taking your daughter and making you come and be with me. So I really like the story that's being told
the
here.
psychological side of this is fine. I don't like. I think all the stuff on the flashbacks is starting to be a bit just too visual and a bit too. Here's just a visual to all this, and it takes all of the actual. I don't know.
See, I don't mind that.
It's kind of like
I thought it looked great.
It's kind of like what I don't like about Guillermo del Toro. I hate how he just shows all these designs all the time, and it sucks all the life out of it for me.
Whereas I'm a creature guy, so the more creatures you can show me, and that's why I tend to like most of his stuff.
I'm in the middle
a lot
ground
of times,
where if the designs are good, then show me.
Yeah.
If it and in movies, if the costume of it and the effect of it is good, then show me what you can.
It's kind of this weird thing where it's not even just about how good it is, because obviously the effects. Let's just take Pan's Labyrinth for example, right? Obviously the effects in that are very good. People love the design of the things in that. The guy with the eyes in his hands, but like. I see those scenes and I get kind of taken out of the movie because I can just see like someone who loves designing this shit designing something, as opposed to it feeling like it really creates an atmosphere for me. Yeah, but obviously sometimes this works for me because you look at something like the Xenomorph and that thing just works, and part of it's because it's in constant darkness and it's got this really weird natural feeling to it. I guess.
I think what I like about this though is the lack of design. It is just mouths and eyes, and that kind of works because it doesn't feel overdone and like, oh, we really put a lot of thought into how this is going to look and that's why we're showing it off. It's just this thing trying to scare this man, and how does it do that? And just
do you know what's funny? And obviously this doesn't need rules because it is supposed to just be a random form that this thing can take because she can do whatever she wants. But I think my like and dislike of certain designs does come down to rules. Not that there actually is rules that are stated, but when I look at something like the Xenomorph, there's a life cycle. There's like a reason why it has certain features and designs, and it's a life form that has kind of something, right?
But this is more akin to Pennywise and It. Where
just let me finish my analogy, because if you look at Pan's Labyrinth, I look at the creature in that, again, it's just in her mind, it's her fantasy, and it's this guy with eyes in his hands, and I'm like, why would he have eyes in his hands? None of this makes sense to me. This is
I mean, because it's scary to that person, and like in this case,
I'm not disputing. I'm trying to explain why it doesn't appeal to me. I'm not saying this is why you shouldn't do it. I'm saying that to me, it inherently makes it less interesting. I just don't like it as much.
And this is all taste. That's fine. I think though that what Mike Carey's doing here with the story is fear. I mean, everything comes around like that. There's this idea of a family curse and what that brings with you, and that so here there's an actual physical manifestation of what caused this family curse, like through the bloodline and whatnot. And so I'm okay with it being this, like I was gonna say, it's like Pennywise and It, and like I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, But the thing that I attached to there is when I, read about it is it's this celestial creature that can take whatever form it wants, even though it does have a form,
Which,
right?
and true to what I've been saying, that's my least favorite part of like Pennywise and
Yeah.
in the movies at least. I mean, I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I don't know about the book or anything, but
I think what interests me though is your whole thing is it has to have a rule of why it looks that way.
Well, it
And
doesn't
the
have
rule-
to. I'm just trying to extrapolate what appeals to me and what doesn't.
No, I get that, but it's weird because for me the rule is this is what scares a person. So that is kind of a rule in its own right, surely.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Because it's just designed to be scary and nothing else, I don't feel scared by it. I'm just like, oh, this is just a design.
well, you're also not a guy in this 18th century.
Oh, sure,
Right?
yeah. Obviously, you can
So-
put me in that context if I'm someone from an earlier time where the belief in demons and
Like-
witches is rampant.
Well,
then
yeah.
maybe I'd be more terrified of this
And
thing.
again, I didn't turn that page and be like, "Oh, scary." I went, "Oh, crap." This just leveled up the game.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
obviously, if this thing appeared in front, obviously I'd shit myself because it'd be right in front of me. But the problem
Right, but-
is that when we're talking from the context of reading a story or watching a movie or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, that like I just can't. There's something I can't separate myself from, which is when it just feels like a design rather than something that feels like it belongs or is actually ethereal or.
See,
The,
I,
the,
part of
the
the
I
reason
don't think that
that
applies
this one
here.
works is because the
Yeah,
whole thing is this. It was this beautiful woman. It was all this lust for him, and then this is
Uh-huh.
the complete opposite. It's this, it's huge. It's just mouths and eyes. There is nothing
Oh sure,
physically attractive about it. It's the
it is
worst possible
flesh.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
but to be fair,
and that's all this
but before
was
she
to him before.
before she turns into this thing though, in this issue, she's not an attractive woman. She has the head of the attractive woman, but she's got like wings and she's got like horse legs.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
she's
that's
al-
the thing.
Right.
she's
a
already
demon.
disgusting. She's already looking freaky before we
Yeah.
get to the big mouth thing.
But it's just it's a scale of like, this is so far in the opposite direction.
I guess it's excess for me, where I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's big and disgusting. Yeah, whatever. Like, it takes me out of it. Whereas the actual psychological drama of like it trying to convince her to like give in, and then taking her daughter, and the realization that it's went after her daughter, like all of that stuff is super interesting
Yeah.
to me because
I just feel they work. It worked both ways for me.
They complement each other.
Yeah, and that who knows what we're gonna get when she goes in there, because we know she's gonna track this down, right? Like there's 2 issues left.
oh yeah.
So like, and now she has backup, right? She has this guy that she didn't want anything to do with, right? Because she wasn't gonna put this burden of her family curse on him. But then he was kind of like, I just found out I had a daughter, and I've never been happier.
That was
Like-
super dark. That moment where he's like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me?" She's like, "Well, I didn't know you. I didn't trust you." She's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, well, I found out when the police came and said, here's your daughter. She's just had her hand blown off.'"
right.
Like, that's got to be gut wrenching.
And then you're right. And then the fact that he calls her unicorn, right? Like, here's this creature that shouldn't exist, but it does now.
Yeah.
And it's in his life, and now he's pulled into this as well, based off of a one night stand in college.
Yeah,
You know,
and
it's
he sees this happen at the end as well. He's there behind
Right.
it, so he sees the
Right.
dollhouse disappear.
Yeah.
right.
How do you
And
think
now
that?
he's pulled into this as well. So I'm like, if Netflix ever chooses to do an adaptation, or Amazon, or whoever, I'm here for this and fleshing this out even more. And for whatever reason, this is a story that I really enjoy.
I'm curious how they actually found the father, to be honest, because there's no reason why they should be able to find out who he is.
Well,
He's probably
If
on the
they
birth
list-
certificate
yeah, if she
why,
listed
why,
his
why,
followers,
why would she list him in the birth certificate, though?
because he's the father. Why wouldn't she?
right? She just didn't tell him.
You don't have to list the father in your birth certificate, though.
Yeah, you also don't have to not do it either.
True, but given that she didn't want him to be a part of the kid's life, it actually it makes less sense to me that he's
Well-
on the birth certificate.
It wasn't that she didn't want him to be a part of it; is she didn't want to burden him. He was just a college student, so she was just like,
Yeah, it wasn't
I'm
like
just
she
gonna
was
go
some
about it.
terrible guy that he
Yeah.
can never meet her. It wasn't like
Right.
that. It was more just
oh.
hey, I don't want him to have anything to do with this because I don't trust him. I don't know him. But
And she
it's
never
not like
thought
she
it would
hated him.
come to this.
I mean, sure,
right?
but just given the fact that he wasn't in their life, to me it made more sense that he wouldn't be on the birth certificate because it's just her choice to put his name on or not. So I don't know.
Maybe she had enough respect for the fact that he was
Yeah.
a person. He didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
He deserves to have this
Because
acknowledgement.
I get the vibe too that she feels like she has guilt about not telling him when he brings it up, and just how he's taking care of her for the 5 weeks she's been in the coma, right? Like he's a decent guy, and what would have her life been like? You know, Sans Dollhouse, right? What would have her life been like if he had been there the whole time? Like maybe the family curse wouldn't have affected him because she's actually built a family.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't be tempted and whatnot. But yeah, no, I like everything that it suggests. And then when the police talk to her about how this terrorist would have targeted her, and it's not adding up to the police.
And she's like, but no, but how would he have known I was there? I always, drive her. We were only on the bus that day because I'd lost my keys, and she kind of has that moment.
Clicks to her.
Did I lose the keys? What happened?
Right. So and then she starts piecing it together that this is the Dollhouse that's doing it. So yeah, no, I really enjoy this, and I love Basketball Heads as well. I didn't expect to like this as much as I do, and I'm glad I saved this for last. This week.
I think we're going back to the monster design for when all the mouse stuff. No, I want to make this final point because I feel like there are times when this kind of thing can work for me, but it has to work for me on a pure impressive level where just the look of it is kind of astounding, and it's especially hard for a comic book to do that because it's a comic art. You can literally draw whatever the frack you want, whereas in like a movie, if you show me something that looks completely like unbelievable that I've never seen before and wows me with how it looks, it might almost work for me just because of the sheer visual like imagination of it. Whereas this, I look at this art and I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but like you could have literally drawn anything you wanted to, and nothing about it feels special because it's just what it is. It's just the idea.
I mean, it could have been a horse with bees for legs, for all we know, and I still think it would have worked for me and Connor. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh sure,
it was more the idea than the design. Like the design is, it's fine. Like I said, like, it's really simple. It's just mouths and eyes and flesh, and for me that's what it was. It's the simplicity of just, hey, we're not overdoing it. It's just a big blob with things that is pretty. Well, terrifying.
And the whole point.
And to me, that is overdoing it though, is the thing, because I'm seeing it all. The creature's
like, oh, you came to kill me with that magical knife, huh? Well, I bet you didn't count on this. And then it becomes something that's so overwhelming, right? Yeah, it's completely alien to him.
It's not terrifying to me, like as a concept. Looking at this design, I don't go, "Oh, that's really scary." But because you're with the man there, and you get his terror at seeing this design, at seeing this creature in front of him, that's what makes it work for me.
Yeah, I don't know, pulled me out of it a little bit. I just felt like all the mystery of it was gone, all the kind of ethereal nature of it gone. It was just, here's a big blob thing.
So the line, you can do a lot with mouths, just in the context of what he did with her in that cave the first time. That adds a little, like, ugh. What went on in that cave?
Yeah. I'm so glad this book is done, because I think this is my favorite as well. Even though maybe Basketful has had individual issues that are stronger, as a story of the pace of where it's moved, this is definitely my favorite. And this was the one I was kind of most looking forward to going in, because I like this team from this writer and artist from their Lucifer run. So the fact that this has delivered is or at least so far. I mean, you could shit the ending, who knows? But so far,
I doubt it from where we are. Right?
Yeah. I'm just so glad it did deliver in that.
It's ramping up. Like I can't wait to read this again. I can't say that a lot with comics because we read so much of them. I can't wait to read this again, like in trade form.
Yeah,
straight through. It's gonna be real good, or hand it to people that I know and be like, "You want a good,
I think horror book?" All the time jumps makes it work really well issue to issue, like monthly, as opposed to just reading it straight through. Like Basketful of Heads is going to read amazingly in one sitting, because it's such a condensed time frame where everything's immediately after the next.
And I hate to compare them because they are so different, right? But given that concept and my sensibilities, I knew I was going to enjoy it. So the fact that it's surprising me in every issue, it always be like, well, is this the one that's going to break it? No.
It had a much harder concept to sell, didn't it? It didn't sound as immediately intriguing or appealing. It was like, okay, I guess I'll see.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like the plunge. We're all stoked for that, given what,
because we know they're doing the thing. Expect. Cool, I'm in.
Right. So and it'll probably be amazing, given what
that's something with good creature design. Just putting that out there.
I said that earlier.
Do you know what I love about this thing? I love that it's delightfully random because it's just like it's just a reaction. This thing's just bonding and like contorting and
No,
you know,
it is trying to survive as much as the humans are trying to survive.
It's a petri dish just reacting to itself. That's all it is. It is wonderful.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. So obviously, I'm not as hot in Dollhouse Family this issue. Yeah. It's not as appealing to my sensibilities quite as much.
It's kind of funny that you seem to be really taken out by this big monster thing, and it's like 3 pages at the start, and then the rest that's it in terms of that.
I mean,
section.
It's the start of the book. Like all the present day stuff, I liked. I think I liked the backstory stuff when it was more kind of like there's something in that cave, and it was more mysterious, and it was more whatever.
Your imagination is always gonna be more scary than what you see.
There's still so much mystery as to what is this angel like. How is that going to come back around in the present day? Were these
two space gods having a battle that got stuck on Earth? Like, is that what this?
I mean, that's interesting, but I'm less interested in what's in the cave now, just because, like, this is just too much visual stuff. Because the imagination is always better when it comes to things like these, and I wish it had stayed to a point as an imagination. Give me the ideas, but don't give me the raw visuals.
That's always been my theory about Lovecraft. And why movie and TV adaptations have never really hit, because the imagination's always scarier.
I think, just to bring us around to this book, the reason why it works here for me, as opposed to, we're talking about these Lovecraft things fail because of the imagination and this wasn't trying to be a Lovecraftian thing. It wasn't ever doing that. So this doesn't feel like it's a betrayal of its premise.
No, not to me, but I feel that's how Pete felt.
I don't feel it's a betrayal. It's going further than I would have liked with showing some of what it's showing, especially in the flashbacks. I like all the human drama of what it's doing is working really well. I'm just, when it comes to certain things in horror, I like them to hold back on what they actually show, especially when it's something otherworldly like this, which is so, like, to me, the giant is much more interesting because, well, it's huge, it's still just a humanoid. Like, there's something far more interesting to me about that because it's something that isn't as weird. So it feels weirder almost because it's like something we know, but it's just a little bit different, right? Or a big bit different, I suppose, if you talk about the size. But like, it's a horror taste thing more than anything else. And I'm someone.
I think that's what it comes down to, and everyone has their own different taste. Like, I love creature stuff. Like, I'm always looking for the next werewolf movie that might be the one. I love big monsters, and they don't even have to be scary monsters. Just the Bigfoot. You know?
Matt's really glad he's not reading Sea Dogs in these issues.
Oh yeah,
because
I can't.
You dropped that last one, and then it's like, oh well, you're screwed now.
But that's the thing. You're saying that you like that when it's not horror, and I think they work better when they're not horror because it's not trying to do that. That said, I will say this: Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, and some people don't like that movie, but what I love about that movie is that it makes Godzilla feel like he is otherworldly, and he's this monolith, this being of a godlike creature. It really feels like that when you're watching that movie.
But
yeah. All right, let's just rate this book so we can wrap up. Matt, what are you giving it?
You give this an 8.5.
Connor?
Yeah, 8.5 for me too.
7 for me.